talking to my brother-in-law.
Yes.
I was talking to him about these AI systems
Yes.
that learn how to recognize, let's say, cats from photographs. He told me there is no way of algorithmically determining the program that the machine learning systems will eventually apply to the problem of identifying cats in a photograph. But if you let the AI neural networks run and then you analyze their output, you often get something that resembles an algorithmic program as an output that you could have hypothetically calculated if you could have specified the search space. It's something like that. But there's no way of doing that without letting the program do its walk through the domain of cat photographs with its differentially weighted neural network architecture. You can't a priori predict it.
Yeah, well, I still don't think it's the same thing. I mean, I could certainly give it different shapes, and you could say, tell the machine, which of these will tile the plane, which won't. Now, will that learn to give you correct answers?
Well,
probably, usually it does.
I suppose once it's tiled, you could formalize the process by which it was tiled, right? Because you could describe the mechanisms or the order in which the tiles were located and the rotation of them. You could specify it after it had all been laid down. And
yeah.
I think that's analogous to what the AI systems seem to be doing when they're learning to perceive.
But the trouble is that it's not. The methods whereby you can tile the plane are, I mean, just the theorems tell you that you can't put them on the computer. I mean, you might get the thing which works most of the time.
Right.
It's quite possible.
Well, so in those tiling problems that you're describing,
yeah.
And so that is, I guess I kind of see why you're interested in the tiling issue. So that has to do in some sense with the ability to map a surface with a certain representational form. And so if you have these tiles that you described and you're trying to completely cover a given surface, that's a mapping problem. I see what you're doing with that. Are there different ways that you could conceivably solve that problem? So
yes,
okay, so even if you do converge on a solution, you haven't converged on the only solution.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was an earlier result which showed that if it were true that any way of tiling that plane with these shapes, with, say, some given set of shapes, finite set of shapes, if it tiles the plane, you can do it periodically with a repeating pattern. If that were true, then there would be an algorithm. But it's not true, because there are certain ways of tiling a plane which do not
have a repeating pattern.
Have repeating patterns.
So now that's so cool, because I was wondering today, why in the world is he obsessed with tiles? What's going on? But, well, the fact that the tiles are, you're essentially mapping an area with a predetermined concept in some sense. That's the tile shape.
Like. Yeah, well,
and you said it can be non-repeating and still solve the problem.
Well, you see the one in front of the mass building. That's an example. That's an example of a tiling set, only two different shapes there. I mean, these aren't polyominoes, but never mind about that. Those two shapes will tile right out to infinity. But there is no way of doing this which is periodic. And you can see, it's almost, you see this sort of repeats
itself. So how do people actually do it then?
Because there's another way of telling you how to do it.
with the tiling. So you designed the tiling in front of the building. So do you actually tell the workmen how to start the tile, and then how do they figure out how to do it?
Or they had a plan for the whole thing.
And you devised the plan for the whole thing?
Yes.
So you provided the map?
Yes.
Okay. How in the world did you get interested? Do you have any idea how you initially got interested in the tiling problem?
Yes. Well, you see, it certainly was this computability question. That is the connection, yeah. I had learnt, I think I'd seen an article in the maths reviews, this is reviews mathematical papers and so on. And I'd seen that somebody had produced a set of tiles which would tile the plane only in a non-periodic way. And I hadn't seen what they were like. And there was a conversation, I think it was just after I'd been appointed to my chair here, Rouse Ball chair, but before I'd taken it up. And I had a conversation with an American mathematician, and he had told me in detail about, I think there's a mathematician called Raphael Robinson who had got the number down to 6, and he'd got a set of 6 tiles, which could only tile the plane in a non-repeating way. And he said that Raphael Robinson, this was Simon Kocher, who's an American mathematician, and he said that Raphael Robinson was somebody who liked to get the number to the smallest number. He was sort of perfectionist in this way. And he said he's got this run. It started out with several thousand, you see, and he got it down to 6. And they're pretty pleased with that. And I said, well, I can do it with 5. I happen to know. I had a set with 6, you see, but I knew that I could reduce it to 5.
How did you know?
How did I know that
you could reduce it to 5?
Because the way that I mean, it's just a technical point. There was a certain shape for matching, and this shape only fitted into one other tile, so that I could glue the ones with. It's just a slight detail point. I could glue some of the tiles together to make them 5.
And when you're mapping the plane,
yeah,
do you map it to the precise borders of the plane, or can there be overlap? You know what I mean? Can it be messy on the edges, or are you trying to precisely cover, let's say, a rectangle?
It keeps on going beyond the edge, and then you cut it along the edge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.